Lesson number 5, Section 2, Adviya. This lesson is based on a real life incident. Students, what do you mean by a real life incident? A real life incident means life as it is lived in reality. Students, look at the map. The Kunduz city is one of the 34 provinces. Provinces means territory of northern Afghanistan close to Russia border. Balkh is a town in the Balkh provinces of Afghanistan. Students, what do you mean by the word narrative? A narrative is a written account that describes an event or an incident. Who is a narrator? A narrator means a person who narrates the events. Students, here is a brief narrative about the Adviya incident. The narrator and her brother went to visit their parents in Afghanistan during their holidays. One day they were returning from a visit to Balkh. The narrator's father was driving the car. The route was deserted and the terrain was difficult and mountainous. It was quite hot and uncomfortable. At one point, the father stopped the car to check something, and suddenly two strangers appeared dressed in long coats, looking ragged and fierce. The family was terrified because they imagined the two were decoys. They came rushing to the car, menacingly shouting, "Adviya, Adviya." The father got back into the car and started the engine. The man rattled the doors and banged the windows, screaming, "Adviya, Adviya." The family managed to escape. Back at home, the narrator, feeling very uncomfortable, asked her father to check the meaning of the word Adviya. It meant medicine. It was then clear to everyone that the two men were not decoys. Decoys means thief. They were begging for help. They must have been in an emergency. They felt terrible and the narrator broke down. Broke down means began to cry. In the first paragraph, we learn that the narrator and her brother went to spend holidays with their parents in the small town of Kuduz. As we have learned earlier, Kuduz, Balkh are the two provinces. Provinces means territories of Afghanistan. The narrator and her brother, along with the parents, were returning from bulk after spending the weekend. Weekend means the last part of the week. Everything began to oppress. Oppress means the narrator was maltreated or ill-used. With the stillness, stillness means silence or calmness of the wild rocky mountains, bare of any vegetation. Bare of any vegetation means without plants. The ghostly craters of rocks. Crater means hollowed out areas, and stones flaking. Flaking means to be situated on both sides. The narrator begins to feel uncomfortable. Uncomfortable means to feel unhappy. Look at this side. Isn't it a perfect hiding place for the decoys? The narrator's fear was expressed by her brother. He felt it was a perfect place for the robbers to hide. The entire family passed glances of fear at each other. In other words, all of them were scared. According to their father, the people of Afghanistan are quite friendly and hospitable. Hospitable means friendly and generous people. So we sang the oldies at the top of our voices in an attempt to drive the blues away. The blues and the dacoits. The entire family sang songs in a loud voice to keep away from their fear. Students, let's continue with the lesson. As their father halted, halted means stop the car to check the rear wheels. Rear wheels means back wheels. The narrator noticed the two men rushing towards their car. The taller of the two charged at them. Charged at them means ran towards them. The other one limped. Limped means walked with difficulty. Behind awkwardly. Awkwardly means in an easy or clumsy way. Their eyes glittered. Glittered means sparkled or were shining from under their soiled turbans. Soiled turbans are dirty, stained turbans. Their ankle length black coat with long sleeves hanging at both sides flapped around them like wings of a monstrous bird. Flapped around them like wings of monstrous birds means their shirt sleeves looked like wings of a dangerous bird. As the dacoits shouted Advia, the narrator and her mother shrieked. Shrieked means shouted in pain. Sudhir banged the door shut and asked others to close the window glass. The narrator, Pooja, did hear Sudhir's voice reaching from the distance, but she just could not move as their father squeezed means compress or crushed himself behind the steering wheel. He shouted to lock the doors. The narrator automatically means by itself closed the door with trembling hands as she did not notice the glass moving down as she turned the handle in the wrong direction. As she raised the window, the dacoit's fingers pressed against the frame. Withdrawing his hands, he banged on the glass with his fist, rattled, that is, meaning banged the door, and shouted, Advia. Then from behind, the other agitated. Agitated means upset. Man had emerged. Emerged means appeared and hit the narrator as there was no window pane. Shouting, Advia, Advia, he searched inside the car. As the car gathered speed means began to move, he fell into a run beside it, still holding on to the window frame. His dirty face bobbed up. Bobbed up means moved up and down as he shouted, Advia, Advia. As the car sped on the unmetalled road are made up of mud and gravel, especially in rural areas. There was dust everywhere. So there was excited because he felt that they licked them. Licked them means defeated them. Dacoits almost got her by the throat, meaning almost got her by the throat means missed catching her throat. Imagining them to be dacoits, Sudhir gleefully. Clapped gleefully means clapped happily as the dacoits could not grab their watches and their mother's chain. The narrator, Pooja, began to think deeply as the voice was running through her head. The voice was running through her head means she kept remembering those two words, Advia, Advia. Back at home, she asked her father to check the meaning of the word Advia. Advia meant medicine. Students, so you see the language barriers. Language barriers means the difficulty in communication experienced by people speaking different languages led to such a confusion.